So I believe our players are ready to go and they're getting set up. But you can see once again, this is more of a fresh player.
It is, so he might not have that best of 3 experience that Alex has. That could be the difference maker in this match. But it's interesting looking at the teams. We see a Big 5 plus a Clefable, of course, versus a Trick Room team. So, I mean, I like the Trick Room teams. I think there's a chance there to knock out the Big 6 and use Trick Room to your advantage since they're a lot faster. This could be pretty big for Alex. He's got the experience advantage, and he might even have the team matchup advantage. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. You've been saying all weekend how Trick Room has just been a strong strategy choice throughout all of VGC. And it's no different just because now we have these restricted Pokemon, which often one of the most appealing factors of restricted Pokemon is both their power and their speed. So if you strip them of their speed by using speed control to your advantage, can definitely, like you said, have a better matchup.
Exactly, and even though they are fast, it doesn't matter if they're super slow. If they're faster in Trick Room, then it's basically like they are faster. So
exactly.
Like we've been saying all weekend, speed control is huge.
Definitely. We can see we're going to be watching the game from Alex's side. Both players did just shake hands. The camaraderie in this game is always live. Xerneas, Talonflame, Groudon. Just seeing Xerneas, it's cool because we haven't seen, we've seen, I believe, one other Xerneas so far in top 8.
Yeah, Xerneas hasn't been as big a factor as we saw in Virginia, of course. Xerneas and Groudon all over. We haven't seen as much of that this weekend. A lot of those teams missed the top cut. So maybe this is the start of the end of the Big 6.
Which is great. I mean, the format is so fresh, and it wouldn't even be a problem if the Big 6 were around for, I'd say, another month, because it's been, but you got to understand, you understand, you're a player. These people play this game. These trainers are training on constantly. So they want to find the outs to the Big 6.
They do, yeah, but so far it's been hard to find an alternate team, but it looks like this weekend is maybe the beginning of the end. Of course, Sean doesn't want that to happen. He's still got that Xerneas, the Groudon, the Talonflame, the Kangaskhan, the Smeargle. We'll see if he can keep those, what he's got, the Big 5. We'll see if he can keep that theme going.
How do you feel about the Clefable?
It's good against like a Xerneas, and of course any redirection along with your own Xerneas is huge.
Of course. There's just so many Pokemon, well, not so many, but there are a few Pokemon that do have redirection. Of course, another fairy type that we didn't see at all this weekend will be Togekiss, which I was kind of hoping to see someone do a Togekiss Rayquaza, mediate the flying type weakness of Togekiss.
Yep,
but
I think we saw one Togekiss
you guys saw
the Serene Grace Air Slash.
Oh, that's right.
It was pretty effective, but that's pretty much the only Togekiss we've seen. This could be big here. A lot of Big 6 teams, or Big 6 theme teams, as we see Sean has. A lot of Smeargles are going for kind of a Trick Room counter strategy, where they kind of train them to be a little bit slower and take advantage of the Trick Room, since Smeargle is a naturally slower Pokemon than the Primals, as well as the Dialga on Alex's side. So if you train it specifically to counter other Trick Room teams, it could be effective.
Definitely, that makes a lot of sense. It's cool because as the meta develops, if Trick Room becomes heavy, you're going to have counter Trick Room, and then you're going to have to counter the counter Trick Room. Like,
of course.
As a player, you constantly have to evolve. Running with the theme of Pokemon, you have to evolve.
You really do.
With the meta. You can't just pick something and stick with it. And that's why I don't think that the Big 6 will ever, I don't think there'll ever be a static Big 6 that is for an entire circuit season.
Yeah, yep, I agree.
It just doesn't happen with the amount of Pokemon that are available, the amount of moves, all the different ways you can train each Pokemon.
Yep.
Definitely means that there's going to be a lot of variety throughout. We see that Xerneas is going to go for the Protect, as Alex's Kangaskhan did Mega Evolve right before that. Kangaskhan goes for the Fake Out, targeting down the Smeargle. So if it had a Focus Sash, it's not going to have a Focus Sash anymore. It's going to get brought down to around 35% from the double Fake Out thanks to Parental Bond. As Amoonguss goes for the Spore, targeting down the Xerneas, but Sean did Protect. We see a happy accident right now. Evasiveness raises sharply with the Moody. Special defense does drop, but he's trying to bob and weave right now, so it doesn't matter.
Wow, that evasiveness boost could be huge.
Definitely. Moody is literally just, you're hoping for happy accidents. You have no control over it, but when you see the evasiveness boost or the speed boost, you feel good inside. You don't have to work for it, but it's a nice little blessing. Follow Me is actually going to happen, so now he's trying to go for this tactic of follow me but can't hit me. Kangaskhan actually goes for Frustration, and it does connect, which is going to take down the Smeargle. So Alex admittedly does not is Kangaskhan and him have a bad relationship, poor rapport.
But they know that.
But they know that.
And they're okay with that.
They're okay
we
with
saw
it.
yesterday, maybe there was some mixed feelings between the Kangaskhan and the trainer, but
Yes.
today they're both on the same page, and that's good.
Which is just fine, you know, just because the page isn't exactly, not every love story has to be a love story, you know. There's horror stories out there, there's some sad ones, and then there's some happy ones that looks like Alex and Kangaskhan are writing a little bit of a tension-filled story. We are going to see the Xerneas go for the GMNT, but it is time to take a nap because Amoonguss is going to be scoring.
And that's
it.
big because Kangaskhan deals a lot of damage to Xerneas.
Definitely,
a double edge will not knock it out, but it will come very close.
Definitely, because GMNT only increases the special defense, so the physical hitting frustration is still gonna. Oh, like you said, even double edge will do so much.
Yep, but we see the frustration. That too will also do a lot of damage.
And regardless, since Xerneas did move before the Spore, it's important to keep in mind that Xerneas is guaranteed at least one turn of sleep. No matter what, even if it switches out, that means that when it comes back, it's going to have one full turn of sleep. So there's no chance that Xerneas doing anything right now.
But here we see a Clefable, so that's some more redirection for the Xerneas, buying it more time to try and wake up. And Clefable's pretty bulky, so a return or a frustration might not do a whole lot depending on how it's trained. It'll still do a lot, but depending on its item, if it has a citrus berry, maybe it could survive 2 frustrations.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We're actually going to see the Clefable opt to go for the Protect instead of the Follow Me, trying to get Xerneas to maybe survive on its own for one turn, as Kangaskhan does go for a Frustration, targeting down the Xerneas. We're going to see just how much damage this does. It looks like it's going to do around 60%, 65%, as Amoonguss is going to go for a Spore, but Clefable did protect itself. So I believe right now, we want to see the Xerneas wake up.
Yeah, we really
Sean
do.
wants
And
to.
Kangaskhan only has single target moves, so it's not like it can use, say, an Origin Pulse or a Precipice Blades and hit that Xerneas through the Follow Me. So even though it did take a lot of damage there, it's still just as safe as it was last turn.
Definitely. We see the Clefable do go for that Follow Me, and Xerneas, unfortunately for Sean, does stay asleep. We're going to see Clefable take around 55, 60% from, oh wow, a little bit more than that, but he's going to go ahead, Clefable's going to go ahead and munch away on that Citrus Berry to restore some of its lost hit points, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see a Spore from the Amoonguss. Yes, we are. It's the Clefable, and Sean now has 2 Pokemon taking a solid nap.
Yeah, this is really good for Alex here because he also has redirection. I don't know if a Dazzling Gleam will knock out the Kangaskhan. It depends how it's trained. A Moonblast definitely would, but Amoonguss can just redirect that with a Rage Powder.
Yeah, Amoonguss, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit. I was wary of how well Amoonguss can perform, and we can see right now that, especially with a Pokemon like Xerneas that needs a turn to set up, that Spore is everything, being able to put that Pokemon to sleep.
It is, and not only is Amoonguss good inside of Alex's own Trick Room, but it's good if he were to come up against another Trick Room team.
Which is gaining popularity, as we've seen throughout this weekend.
It is, and if he were to advance through this round, we've seen Trick Room teams already in the top 8, multiple of them. So if he were to advance through this round, Amoonguss could be a big factor later in the tournament. But first, he's got to focus on this matchup against Sean.
Absolutely, and right now, though, with 2 fairies on Sean's side of the field, I think Amoonguss, like you just said, Amoonguss is sitting pretty no matter what. If it has the redirection, doesn't look like it is opting for the redirection right now, going for the Rage Powder, resisting fairy-type attacks thanks to its poison typing. Xerneas is going to get a full set of sleep turns. Sean is not happy. Alex just mouthing, "I'm sorry," to Sean, but that is the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, as Xerneas does go down without getting a single attack off. Of course, Clefable has to sleep this turn. This is his first turn to sleep, so there was no chance of it waking up.
Yep, that's why sleep is so good. If you sleep the full 3 turns, I mean, your Pokemon is going to get knocked out by the time that happens.
Absolutely. It's one of the more frustrating things to be on the end of, but it's something you have to keep in mind. You know, when you're in the game, and of course it's tough, like we were talking about yesterday, there's extra pressure. This is top 8. You're on stream. But sometimes you have to play with worst case scenario in mind. Like, make your moves based on that.
Yep, you do.
Because then you'll be pleasantly surprised if you do happen to wake up.
Yep.
And it's definitely something that I think a lot of players, including myself when I do play, has to learn. We're going to see the Clefable wake up and go for the helping hand, suggesting that perhaps we're not going to see a fake out from Sean's Kangaskhan, but Alex's Kangaskhan is going to go ahead and go for a frustration, targeting down that Clefable. We know that it is going to be enough to pick up the knockout, thanks to the damage output we saw prior. So Clefable is no longer on the field. We're going to see the Kangaskhan, though, did get a little helping hand double edge, most likely targeting down, I'm not sure, he's targeting down the Amoonguss, and that is going to be enough to take him out. But the Effect Spore gets the poison, ladies and gentlemen, just for that extra salt in the wound. Oh my goodness.
But that could be some good knowledge for Sean, knowing that it does have Effect Spore.
And not Regenerator.
And not Regenerator, and if he goes for, say, a Fake Out in Game 2 onto an Amoonguss, he's got to watch out for getting slept by the Effect Spore or paralyzed by the Effect Spore.
Yeah, for those of you guys that don't know, Effect Spore is one of Amoonguss' possible abilities that can have, I'm not sure what the percentage chance is. Is it 10%?
I
Seems a
believe
little
it's
high.
I believe it's the third.
Okay, wow,
But-
a third of the time.
Don't quote me on that.
Okay, we're not gonna quote, but it can either paralyze, poison, or put a Pokemon to sleep on physical contact. So moves like Fake Out, Frustration that make contact with the Pokemon have the chance to have those effects happen to the opposing Pokemon.
Yep, a poison would actually be good on Kangaskhan. Obviously, at this point, Kangaskhan will just get knocked out, so the effect spore doesn't really matter. But in Game 2 and possibly a Game 3, if it gets poisoned by an effect spore using, say, a Fake Out or a Return or Double Edge, that could actually be good because then it can't be slept by Spore.
Exactly. That would definitely be best case scenario. But that's a little you're taking a gamble right there.
Yeah, because if you get slept or paralyzed, that could be
exactly
huge.
That's going to be huge. We see that Alex is able to take out Sean's Kangaskhan after Sean was able to do just a little bit of damage, or a good amount of damage to the Kyogre. But that's going to be Game 1 right there. Right there in that moment, I don't think what I like about Sean's decision was that he didn't show anything new in that last turn. I was talking about it with two other casters during the last game, and I think when you're in best of 3, you need to get your mindset into best of 3. And in Game 1, if you can avoid revealing something, if you know the game is lost, I know you have player pride, you don't have to run, but just use a move that you've already used.
I completely agree. It's great keeping things secret in a best of 3, especially when you're not going to win the battle.
Yes.
You can still, of course, try and win, but it's better off.
You'd
just
rather win the whole match.
Exactly. You're better off just keeping those. It's like, do you win the battle or do you want to win the war?
Exactly.
You want to win the war, not the battle. So you're better off keeping it secret. But this is where Alex's experience in a best 2 out of 3 could play a factor, as well as Sean's inexperience with a best 2 out of 3, because he lost the first game. He doesn't want to let this get to him. He did get some good information off of Alex's team. He knows he has Frustration on Kangaskhan, not Double Edge, so it won't do as much damage.
Yeah.
He knows about the effect spore on Amoonguss, so he does have some information. He does need to regroup. He can't let that loss get to him. He did get a little unlucky with the sleep turns, but he's got to keep going.
Definitely, and I think they're ready over there on the table for the next match. He definitely did get a little unlucky with those sleep turns, so that's something that, not that he can necessarily control, but I think he should put that at the forefront of his mind, because like you said, you don't want to let that first game get to you. You don't want to go on tilt, especially when something like that did happen that was almost out of your control, essentially.
Exactly, yep, it was out of his control. And he could be thinking, hey, if I woke up in 1 turn or 2 turns, I would have won that battle.
Yep.
Maybe that's what he's thinking. It's certainly good for your confidence to think that way.
But you don't want to ignore all the information that you got.
No, you don't, but it's certainly good to think that you still got a chance if he were to sleep less turns, because you need that positive energy in a best 2 out of 3.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a marathon. I mean, we've been here all day yesterday. These players had to play, make their way all the way through over 200 competitors, and now they're here in top 8. So it's a little bit of a marathon. It's not a sprint. So any sort of positive energy that you can keep yourself going is definitely great. We're going to see Alex lead with the Amoonguss Kangaskhan once again, and then we're going to see Sean go ahead and lead Talonflame Kangaskhan this time. I like the adjustment.
I do too. Talonflame is great against the Amoonguss with Brave Bird. It's an easy KO on Talonflame's side. Both players have Kangaskhan. Both have Fake Out Pressure, so that essentially negates each other's.
Yes.
But of course, faking out a Kangaskhan is risky because if it doesn't Mega Evolve, there's a chance it has Inner Focus, which will prevent the flinch. But then, if Sean goes for a Fake Out on Amoonguss, he does have to watch out for that effect spore.
Yeah, and because of Parental Bond, it's going to has a double chance to trigger because of hitting it twice.
That's why I think if he does go for a Fake Out on Amoonguss, he's got to stay not Mega Evolved.
So that he only does it once.
Yep.
Is that the play that you would definitely... Well, we're going to see right now, Kangaskhan is going to Mega Evolve on Alex's side. I believe that was on Alex's side. And now we're going to see if Sean decided to Mega Evolve. Sean as well decided to Mega Evolve. So depending on who Sean targeted down, you're kind of hoping at this point that Sean targeted down the Kangaskhan.
Well, it's also possible maybe neither of them went for a Fake Out.
Because the pressure is there on both sides, like you said, you just ignore it.
Yep.
And it looks like that's going to be the case because Rage Powder is... Well, actually, Rage Powder is going to go off on the Amoonguss. And we're going to see right now, Talonflame does go for the Brave Bird, so there's no Fake Out on either side. But the Brave Bird is going to connect on the Amoonguss. How much damage is it going to do? I think it's an easy KO. It lives on 1. That is a focus sash. Oh my goodness, that is beautiful. Alex is definitely carrying that for one of the big 6, Talonflame, because that's absolutely beautiful. We see a frustration from Kangaskhan though. Going to target down that Talonflame. I believe with the recoil, that's definitely going to be enough to take him out. It's a critical hit. Don't think that crit mattered at all. And we're going to see what the Kangaskhan opted to do here. Kangaskhan on Sean's side decided to go for the low kick on Alex. Oh, actually on Amoonguss, just securing the KO. Oh, that's right, Rage Powder.
Yep.
Rage Powder forced that KO. So that focus sash was definitely utility.
And we don't see an effect spore there, so that's good for Sean. He traded a Talonflame for an Amoonguss, which is great because Amoonguss gave his Xerneas a lot of trouble last matchup, but now he's gotten rid of that Amoonguss.
Definitely.
So that's definitely a good trade for Sean.
Yeah, I think that trade is definitely in his favor. We see that Xerneas hits the field for Sean, and for Alex, Cresselia hits the field.
Yep, so this could be where Alex is signaling he wants to get Trick Room up for possibly a Kyogre in the back. He hasn't shown a restricted Pokemon yet this game. And Kyogre under Trick Room deals a lot of damage to Xerneas, a lot of damage to Kangaskhan. Of course, if Sean has a Groudon in the back and Alex gets the rain up ahead of Groudon's Drought, then his Origin Pulse would deal a lot of damage.
Without a doubt. And we're going to see that Sean's Kangaskhan decides to go for the low kick, targeting down Alex's Kangaskhan, and it is enough to pick up the knockout. That critical hit may have mattered depending on that roll. We saw the Kangaskhan was up about 75% before the second hit, but it definitely might have mattered. Xerneas is going to go ahead and go for the Moonblast, opting just trying to get damage put onto this Cresselia. We're going to see it's going to do around 45% as Cresselia does set up that Trick Room, as Ray had just said.
Yep, I imagine Kyogre is the final Pokemon on Alex's side. He has Trick Room up, which is good. But that Xerneas didn't get a Geomancy up, so a Water Spout or an Origin Pulse would do a lot of damage to Xerneas. Yeah, I think, especially if it's boosted by a Helping Hand.
I think that the play in that turn, Sean should have definitely set up that Geomancy right there.
I agree. Despite I'm sure he expected Trick Room going up, which is why he didn't want to go for the Geomancy there. But he kind of had to have a feeling that Kyogre was the final Pokemon. Even just getting the special defense boost from Geomancy would be good for surviving a Kyogre water move and then hitting it hard with a Moonblast.
Absolutely. The speed, the boost in speed is a little bit of a double-edged sword when you're going up against Trick Room. But that special defense was
here's
necessary.
The thing, it would have been slower, or it would have been slower under Trick Room versus this Kyogre and Cresselia, regardless whether it went for a Geomancy or not.
Exactly.
So what's the harm?
There is no harm at all. And then you can try to wait out that Trick Room. We already saw Xerneas go for a Protect in the prior game, so you know that it has the opportunity to potentially stall. Unfortunately, Sean doesn't have Fake Out Pressure. There's no room to switch anything into a Kyogre under Trick Room.
Oh, no. Well, a Groudon would be a good switch-in, but of course, if Cresselia predicts that and goes for a skill swap on the Kyogre, then that's a bad switch-in.
Yeah, that would be definitely insane. We're going to see Xerneas go for the Protect as Cresselia targets down the Kangaskhan with a Psychic. Kyogre is going to fire off an Origin Pulse, which is going to do an incredible amount of damage. Of course, not to the Xerneas, but to the Kangaskhan, especially under this heavy rain. It's going to be enough to pick up the knockout. Kangaskhan not getting to do anything on that turn. Perhaps a Sucker Punch would have been a great play.
Yep, I'm sure Sean knows how he trained his Kangaskhan. If he didn't train it with much bulk, he might have been better off going for a Sucker Punch there, expecting either a Water Spout or an Origin Pulse.
And we see that Sean's last Pokemon does hit the field, and it is that Groudon. So switching there would have been definitely optimal, only having to take Psychic damage from the Cresselia.
So this is big. If Cresselia has Skill Swap, then Alex is in a fantastic position, and he most likely will have the game in his hands. But then if he doesn't have Skill Swap, well, now his Kyogre can't really do much of anything.
Yeah, I know. I think earlier on in the weekend, we actually saw Alex's Cresselia use the move Lunar Dance, which was really cool to see. So I'm not sure if it's going to have room on its moveset to actually have the skill swap. I haven't seen it yet this weekend, so it's going to be interesting. We're going to see the skill swap right there. And of course, if you guys don't know, they swap abilities. Literally, their skill sets get swapped. So Primordial Seed from Cresselia now, this beast of a Pokemon, is going to go ahead and bring the heavy rain as Kyogre goes for an Origin Pulse. Groudon did protect itself, but Xerneas still has to take this hit. And by take this hit, I mean, I don't think it's going to... Oh, it's going to live on around 30%. Geomancy is going to happen. Now, what's interesting here is that I believe there's one more turn of Trick Room after this.
Yep, so if Sean can stall out the Trick Room enough, Xerneas could possibly make the comeback. But here's the thing, even if Origin Pulse were to miss Groudon, the Kyogre has Levitate, so Groudon can't even really hit it.
Yeah, so it's all up to the Xerneas in order to take out that Kyogre. And Kyogre is at full HP.
It is, and Kyogre's got massive special defense, so there's no way a Dazzling Gleam from the Xerneas would be enough to take it out, since he pretty much has to go for a Dazzling Gleam, or else Cresselia will just get Trick Room up again.
Definitely.
Once it runs out.
And I agree with that play right there with Sean trying to go for that double protect. I think that was the only thing he could really go for.
Oh yeah, he has to go for the double protect, yep. And same with Xerneas, he's got to protect it until Trick Room's out.
Absolutely, but Groudon, of course, Groudon would die if you would get knocked out if you spilled your water on the table and it spilled on the Groudon. So, of course, to an Origin Pulse, Groudon is going to go down, and that is going to be a 2v1 situation.
Yep, so Sean knows what he's got to do, wait until Trick Room's over, which, yeah, he really needs to go for a Protect there, and even though the odds aren't in his favor, he had to go for it, try and stall out Trick Room to the end, and then try and see if he can maybe get a critical hit with Dazzling Gleam. Oh, wow.
Oh, but actually, he knows his counts, and he's able to live that Thunder because Kyogre opted not to go, and it looks like, actually, Sean is going to be able to pick this game up.
Yeah, wow, Alex really kind of threw that match away there, going for a Thunder that not enough to KO, and now Xerneas with the comeback. That's
We are
incredible.
going to a game 3.
That's incredible, wow.
I did not, like you said, I heard it in your voice, Ray. I heard that the game was over.
Here I was thinking that, wow, Sean really should have gone for a protect there, but hey, he knew what he was doing. He didn't go for a protect. You know, Alex didn't go for the right move there, and
You know what? It's kind of like what you were talking to me about yesterday. Even if your only option is for your opponent to slip up, that's what you have to go on, because had Sean gone for that protect, even a critical hit from a Dazzling Gleam wouldn't have taken that Kyogre out. So no matter what, the correct move, an Origin Pulse would have taken Xerneas out.
I think a crit from Dazzling Gleam definitely would have taken the Kyogre
it
out.
would have?
Yep.
Okay.
But
I didn't see, I wasn't sure. I thought, because it dropped from 100% to around 60.
That's true.
40, and then since critical hits are only 1.5.
That's true.
I think it might have lived on like 5%.
I didn't see exactly how much damage it did. If it only did barely above half, then yeah, it wouldn't have taken it out. But
yeah. So I mean, these players have to know their calculations. Definitely in that game, you could 100% see, had Alex known that how much Thunder would have done, he never would have gone for Thunder at that point.
For sure. But he must have expected a KO there.
Definitely. I don't think he would be relying on the 10% paralysis from Thunder. I don't think that would be.
But,
I don't think that would be.
But hey, now he does know that Xerneas possibly is a really bulky Xerneas.
Yeah.
That Thunder really didn't do a whole lot. And then that Dazzling Gleam at +2, it only did just over 50% to the Kyogre, you said?
Yeah.
So then maybe that means Sean's Xerneas wasn't trained as much in special attack.
Yeah, it's cool because you can see even what we're just talking about, depending on how you train these Pokemon, no matter how much studying you do and all your calculation prep, you can always catch an opponent off guard if you decide to train your Pokemon just a little bit differently than the standard set.
Yep.
So it's definitely really cool. I believe we are ready. They're setting up for Game 3 right now. So this is where the mind games get intense, because I don't think we saw Game 3 last match, I should say. But this match specifically, since I'm commentating, I'm very much into it. So now we're going to see how both players adapt at this point.
Yep, this is Game 3. Of course, the pressure is on for both of these players. Like we said before, Sean a little bit new to VGC and best of 3 situations, but so far he's brought it to a Game 3. After losing Game 1, he won Game 2 there, so he must be on a high right now. He's feeling really good.
Yeah,
and that's huge because this is such a mental game, just feeling confident, feeling good. Alex, I'm sure, might be a little tilted. He can't let that last turn of that last battle get to him.
Definitely. We see that Sean leads with the Xerneas and the Kangaskhan, goes back to his original lead, and then Alex sticks with his Kangaskhan and Amoonguss. So Sean not having Talonflame on the field is a little bit disheartening for Sean.
Yeah, Sean going back to having the Xerneas out at the beginning against an Amoonguss. It's not with Smeargle this time, but Amoonguss really doesn't care about Xerneas's Dazzling Gleam or Moonblast. It can just sleep it and let Kangaskhan just go off with the frustration on it, dealing massive damage. So Sean making a little bit of adjustment, maybe not for the best, but at the same time, Xerneas is always a threat once it gets up a Geomancy.
Of course, and I mean, the pregame, when you're choosing your leads, Sean's thought process could have been, well, Alex knows I led Talonflame last time. So
Exactly.
there's no way he's going to lead Amoonguss.
Exactly. It's such a mind game after Alex lost had Amoonguss so easily last game. You know, Sean's thinking, hey, he won't do that again, but hey, he did.
He did do it again. He stuck to his guns and basically led the same exact way. And we're going to see that Alex is going to Mega Evolve. Sean is going to Mega Evolve as well. I was kind of hoping to see what Ray had said, maybe a non-Mega Evolution going for a fake out on that Amoonguss, just to get that Geomancy up, potentially, because there's always the chance that Alex's Kangaskhan does go for the fake out onto Xerneas. But it looks like Sean's Kangaskhan is going to go for the fake out on Amoonguss. Are we going to see an effect spore from either of these hits? That's 1, 2, no effect spore. Sean definitely gets by from that. And then we're going to see a fake out onto the Kangaskhan. Are we going to see a Geomancy from Sean Xerneas on turn 1? We are going to see a Geomancy. That is absolutely huge.
You saw Alex's reaction to fake outing Sean's Kangaskhan. Alex, he might still be affected by that last game. That was, especially since a lot of Kangaskhan's have inner focus, fake outing a Kangaskhan is always extremely risky. And then even if they both have the same speed and it's just a coin flip, which one goes first, it's always extremely risky faking out a Kangaskhan.
Do you really want to take that gamble going for a fake out on a Kangaskhan?
Especially against a Xerneas, which is such a threat.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. And something to keep in mind is Alex's team is composed like a Trick Room team, so his Kangaskhan might just be trained slower than Sean, so you might always lose that. But we're going to see Kangaskhan's going to live that Dazzling Gleam on 8 HP as Sean's Kangaskhan goes for the double edge into the Amoonguss thanks to the Rage Powder. Amoonguss is going to go down. Kangaskhan living on 8 HP. I think we're going to see a frustration here, most likely targeting down the Xerneas, but I don't want to assume just yet. We see the recoil on Sean's. No, we're going to see a low kick on Sean's Kangaskhan to get that thing out of here as soon as possible.
This is really bad for Alex against a Xerneas with full HP, a Geomancy already up. He already lost his Amoonguss. Kangaskhan, I mean, it's a wind blow from being knocked down. Oh, and here comes the Smeargle. More redirection, a potential fake out, Dark Void to stop Trick Room if it hits.
Yeah, this is definitely a tough situation.
This is really bad for Alex.
Especially with that Xerneas, there's no Trick Room up just yet. So Xerneas is the fastest thing on the field. We're going to see Smeargle go for the Helping Hand. So this is going to be a +2 Dazzling Gleam. A little bit of applause on his side. We're going to see just how much damage this does to the Cresselia. It is going to leave it at 36 HP, but Kangaskhan, of course, is going to drop down. As Cresselia does set up that Trick Room.
He gets the Trick Room up, but Cresselia's hardly got any HP. If Kyogre is his last, which I'm guessing it is, yeah, this time, Xerneas has the Geomancy boost under the duration of Trick Room. Kyogre won't really do a whole lot of damage to it, and of course, Xerneas will deal massive damage.
Of course. Were you able to catch what just dropped? I think it was his accuracy.
Oh, I missed it.
I believe it was accuracy decreased and possibly special defense increased. So just a little note for Moody, that happy accident happened again, but it wasn't as happy as what Sean probably wanted to see with speed or evasion. But the Heavy Rain is going to drop to the field thanks to Kyogre's Primal Reversion. And like you had said, this Xerneas being at full health from turn 1. I mean, I believe this is only turn 4 of the game.
Yep, you're living dangerously when you keep a Xerneas at full health when it's got Geomancy up. This really isn't looking good for Alex.
Definitely not. And it's interesting because, like you had said, Alex is the veteran player, has a little bit more experience in the best of 3 from what it seems.
And it seems like he's the one who may have been influenced by the ending of that last game, letting it get to him. And Sean, after losing the first game, he's in fantastic position here.
Yeah, and opting to go for the Protect on the Xerneas as Cresselia does go for the Psychic, targeting down that Smeargle just to make sure that it can get to it KO'd in case it was holding a Focus Sash. We're going to see the Origin Pulse. It does connect on the Smeargle, so Smeargle is going to go down. I have to wonder if Sean kind of just expected that, if there was nothing that he could really do about it. But just opting to go for the Protect is definitely interesting, trying to stall out that Trick Room most likely.
Yeah, but at the same time, Xerneas doesn't really care about Kyogre because of its special defense boost. I think he was certainly free to attack there.
Yeah, I think he was. I think the only thing that could have happened that would have been bad would have been a critical hit because, of course, it ignores the special defense boost. But I don't know that it would have picked up. It might have picked up the knockout.
But at the same time, I mean, he's risking a critical hit the entire game.
Yes,
so
exactly. You always are.
Yeah.
That's definitely something for players to keep in mind.
And it's not like he can protect Xerneas all 5 turns of Trick Room. He's going to have to get hit by a Kyogre eventually. So
definitely. I do agree that I think he should have attacked. With the special defense
especially
increase.
Since his last Pokemon was Talonflame. Yeah. After a Dazzling Gleam, Brave Bird would definitely KO the Kyogre.
Yeah, that's true. I guess at this point, maybe the move of choice is to just Brave Bird that. You don't even really need to Brave Bird the Cresselia because it's going to go down to the Dazzling Gleam.
Yep, and I imagine he'll go for, say, a Helping Hand, just going for that crit on Xerneas, and that's really all he can hope for.
Unfortunately, though, Sean does go for the Brave Bird. It looks like he's most likely going to be targeting down the Kyogre to put it in range of the Dazzling Gleam. Despite the lack of Helping Hand. We're going to see, of course, the Life Orb recoil on that Talonflame. Cresselia does go for a Psychic, targeting down the Xerneas, perhaps crossing his fingers for a special defense drop, but he's not going to see that. Instead, we're just going to see an Origin Pulse get fired out from the Kyogre. The crowd is begging for a crit, but it doesn't look like they're going to get it, and Xerneas is probably going to follow suit with a Dazzling Gleam, which I think should put this best of 3 in Sean's favor. We're going to see right now the Dazzling Gleam does come out. Is it going to knock out both Pokemon? It does, in fact. A critical hit on the Cresselia just to boot. Absolutely no effect on the game, but Sean is going to advance as Alex bows out.